Ali,
Yo,
quick question for you.
yeah.
I want to make sure that these links work because yesterday,
Oh, yes.
like they didn't. Um, so let me just throw that into the. Hold on, where am I at though? Where's my webcam? All right, sweet. Give me 1 second here. All right, so if I post,
Push play. Here we go. It's being recorded. 72, 403. Here we go. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, maybe good morning, depending on where you're coming from. Just so you know, you are in the College of Science and Engineering at Seattle University's advising session. Hey, Quinn. Hey, Finn. Hi, Clint. You are, hi. And good morning. Yes. We are actually likely going to mute you all. Unfortunately, this presentation is a lot of just that. It's a lot of talking at you, but we will have opportunities for you to engage with us and also with each other. So we are going to shut your mics off, but we do love to see your faces. So don't be afraid to at least turn on your video. We'd love to see your reactions to what we're saying, like if we're overwhelming or you're shaking your head like, what? Or if you're like, yeah, I got this, that's cool. So we're going to give folks 1 more minute. Make sure your screens work, that your volume works. Cool. Hey, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your cameras and turning them on. All right, I see 4:05 on my clock, so we're going to get started. We can go to the next slide. So again, my name is Jennifer Coogan, and I am the Assistant Dean in the College of Science and Engineering, and I am part of the advising team who is going to help navigate your journey over the next couple of weeks to make sure that you get registered for fall quarter. And so this is just the first half of the conversation, the background, the tools, the information that you need to know before we actually do the action of registering. I use she, her pronouns. And a fun fact about me I think is fun is that I've been here in the Seattle area for 11 years already. I'm originally from the East Coast, from Connecticut. So if any of you are from back there, hey. And I haven't left, so that should tell you that it's a pretty cool place. I'm going to have the team introduce themselves, and I'm going to start with Aisha.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aisha Ali. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an academic advisor within the College of Science and Engineering. I'm also the pre-health advisor on campus. So if you're thinking you want to do pre-med or pre-dental or PA or athletic training or pharmacy, chances are at some point in your career, you're going to come and talk to me and we'll have those conversations. I'm going to do my favorite thing about Seattle. So I think my favorite thing about being in Seattle is I like the weather. Like right now it's almost July, but it feels like 60 degrees outside, which if you hate being hot and humid, it's kind of nice. And now I'll go for a walk and it'll feel like fall. So I kind of enjoy that. I'm going to send it over to Cody.
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Cody Rice. I'm also one of the academic advisors here for the College of Science and Engineering. I use he, him pronouns. I'm also not from the Seattle area. I actually just moved here back in November from Northern California. So I will agree to disagree with Aisha on the weather aspect. I like the sun a little bit more, but one thing that I actually really enjoy about Seattle, it's kind of cool to, I think the ferries are super cool. If you've never been on a ferry before, if you're from Seattle or this area and you're like, they're ferries, it's fine, it's whatever. But if you're not, they're super cool. It's such a vibe. Just go check out some of the different islands that are around the Puget Sound. And yeah, so I'll hand it over to Alan.
Hello, my name is Alan Adamian. I am the administrative assistant for the Advising Center in the College of Science and Engineering. I would say my favorite thing about Seattle is Katsu Burger. It's a burger joint that's really close by to Seattle U, so please do yourself a favor and go get some Katsu Burger. I'm going to
Alright.
pass it over to Hallie.
Yes, we're going to say, I think I'm last year. Hi, I'm Hallie Haminda. I use she, her pronouns. I'm also one of the advisors in the College of Science and Engineering Advising Center. One of my favorite things about Seattle is just how unique and fun all the different neighborhoods are. So once you're here at SU, make sure you're exploring the city. There's a lot to explore, and each different neighborhood has its own feel and fun thing to check out.
Okay, so let's get into some housekeeping before we kick off our presentation. So all of you are hopefully very familiar with Zoom. I feel like most people know what Zoom is, have heard of Zoom. So just some reminders. If you have video or camera, we would love to see your faces because it helps us know you and see you before you start on campus in the fall, just to kind of get familiar with who you are. So for those of you who've got your camera on, thank you. Love to see those faces. We are going to keep you muted during this presentation, just because there's like only 5 of us and like 50, 60 of you. But that being said, if you have questions during the presentation, feel free to throw them in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat. A lot of the questions you probably have coming into this presentation, I promise you, this is not our first time. We will get to them. We will get to all those burning questions you probably are holding on to. We will pause for questions throughout. So just know that you can also hold on to your questions if you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to ask now. We'll pause throughout the presentation for questions. Last thing, for those of you who want closed captioning, you can turn the closed captioning on by clicking on the icon that has the 2 C's. Or if you don't see how to get to that, you can look for a circle with 3 dots in it. And if you click on the circle with 3 dots, it'll say show captions, turn captions on. And that's also how you can turn on your questions. So we're going to take a minute to get re-familiar with Zoom in the next couple of slides, just for practice.
Okay, we're going to try to use some of those Zoom tools right now. On the shared screen, hopefully you can see a map of the world. On your Zoom panel, I want you to find the annotate button. You might need to, again, press those 3 dots that say more. But once you find that annotate button, a toolbar should pop up. And you want to find the check mark on that toolbar. It says stamped. You can choose the stamp of your choice. And then you're going to indicate on the map where you are zooming in from today. Lovely. All right, I see quite a few stamps in Hawaii. Welcome. Lots in the Pacific Northwest. Got a Midwest. Ooh, Kenya. Welcome. International students. And folks are getting creative with the annotate button. Nice. We are well represented today. I love it. All over the U.S. Ooh, is that Guam over there? The Mariana Islands? Welcome. Welcome. All right, take like 3 more seconds. Get your last stamps out. Wonderful. All right, thanks for playing, everybody. We will move along. I'm gonna clear everyone's drawings so you can get rid of your toolbars now.
Cool, so we had a chance to introduce ourselves. We wanted to give you all a chance to introduce yourselves as well. There are currently 87 people on this Zoom call. So instead of going one by one, that would take a very long time. We're going to send you all out into breakout rooms. I'm sure you've experienced breakout rooms before. I actually think this is kind of a really cool opportunity to meet your fellow classmates. In a few months, you will be here at Seattle University. And so, you know, maybe you'll be able to see someone that you recognize from a Zoom call, a couple months ago. And that's a great way to just kind of start those friendships early before you even have gotten here to Seattle U. So just like we did, when you get into your breakout room, you just want to share your name, your pronouns, your intended major. If you're thinking about changing your major, that's totally fine. You can share that as well. And then just like we did, if you want to share a fun fact about yourself, or if you know anything about Seattle, you can share your favorite thing about Seattle or what you're most excited for about Seattle. Just go off and share those. So in just a moment, you'll see a little pop-up appear on your screen. There it is. Go ahead and click join, and we'll see you all in just a few minutes.
See a couple people still in the room. If you'll see a button that says join the breakout room that you were assigned to. Thank you for joining us. You came right at a point where we just had the groups break out into small rooms. So they'll be joining us back in like 2 minutes. So hang tight, and you haven't missed any important stuff yet other than our intros, but you'll get to hear from us throughout the rest of the time. Welcome back, folks. All right, welcome back, everybody. I think we're all back now. Hope everyone had a nice time meeting each other. We are going to go ahead and get started.
To start us off on our session here today, we are going to kind of remind you where we are in time and what it is exactly we are doing here today. So you are at your advising session. Hopefully, to prepare for this session, you worked through your Academic Advising 101 modules in Canvas that you access through your orientation portal. This session is meant to kind of reinforce some of that information that you learned through those modules. It's also meant to ultimately prepare you to register for classes. So we will all meet again over Zoom at our registration sessions from July 8th to July 18th. So you may have already signed up for a registration session, or that may be something that you still have to do. And in between now and then, we also hope that you're working through the course registration modules that are also in Canvas. So all of this is to help towards our ultimate goal of getting you into those fall quarter classes. Now, as we go through today, we're going to encourage you to engage with the materials that we're showing you, take notes or screenshots or pictures of the screen. This information is going to come in handy when it comes to planning out your courses. And in fact, later today in some of the slides, you'll notice a panda bear in the upper left corner of some of the slides. When you see that, that is your notice to take a screenshot. The information on the panda bear slides is very important. So if you have some way to capture that information, that would be great.
Yeah, so let's talk about advising because you're speaking with a bunch of advisors. So there are advisors within the College of Science and Engineering. It's me, Cody, and Hallie, and each college has an advising center. Because you guys are in the College of Science and Engineering, one of us will be your advisors. The great news is you will always have an advisor. So your first 2 years at SU, you will have a professional advisor. So you will be assigned to one of us, Hallie, Cody, or myself. And we are the people that you come to if you have questions, if you're not sure of where to go, if you need help, if you just need guidance, if you want to change a major, or in this case, we're going to help you with summer and we're going to help you over the summer for fall registration for the first time. So your advisors, when you start, are going to be your go-to people when you have questions. Later, in addition to having a professional advisor in the advising center, you're also going to have a faculty advisor for your major in your department. So if you're a biology major, you're going to have a biology faculty advisor assigned to you. And your faculty advisor is going to help you a little bit with the upper level academics to help you figure out, okay, maybe these are the best courses for you to take depending on what you're hoping to do for your future. But they're really here to help you develop professionally. So that's what your faculty advisors are going to do. So long story short, you will always have an advisor at SU, professional or faculty. So some things that you guys should know. Though you will always have an advisor and you will get a lot of advice and you will always have support, students are expected to do their part in the relationship, right? So advising is a two-way relationship. We're going to do our part, but then students are also expected to check in. If we're telling you that you need to do something or you need to pay attention to something, it's also your responsibility to make sure that you are following up in matters concerning your academics. So just a gentle reminder there. So you all have a professional advisor. So in student planning, you're assigned to, like I said, myself, Cody, or Hallie, and you're welcome to email us throughout the summer if you have questions. You will not be you'll meet with all of us during course registration. So just putting that out there, but all of us are here to help you.
And when will we help you? That's what I get to share with you. So Seattle University is on a quarter system, very different than a lot of the East Coast schools. So we have a fall, winter, spring, and summer. And ironically, we don't really have a lot of classes going on in the summer. We do offer classes, but that's like a quieter part of the year, of the quarter, of all the quarters. So as a incoming student, you will be required to meet with your advisor your very first year for all 3 quarters. So fall, winter, and spring. And that is because we want to make sure that your transition is a good experience. And so you'll meet with us and we'll talk about which classes you're going to be taking in the following quarter. We'll talk about how is your roommate situation going, since some of you have never shared a room with someone before. We'll talk about, academically, maybe the rigor at Seattle University is very different than you expected, and that can go either way. And then just, how are you feeling and adapting socially? Are you finding your people here on campus? Whatever it might be, as Aisha said, that is what we're here for. But again, we're going to make sure, and we require it, that in your first year, every quarter that you meet with your advisor. In good habits that we hope that you're building in that first year, you will be suggested that you meet with your advisor every quarter for the last 3 years of your time here at Seattle University. It's just good practice. It's a really good idea because things also change. So you may decide like, hey, I thought I wanted to be a civil engineering student, but I took that environmental science class and wow, that's really where I want to focus my efforts. Or, hey, I took that chemistry class and actually I took a business class in high school and I really think that's where my passion lies. That's fine. That's what your advisor can help you to navigate. So as Aisha said, we're your home away from home. Any question that you have, don't feel ashamed to ask it. It goes back to what she was saying too about your responsibility in our relationship is to advocate for yourself. So if there is something going on, let us know. We may not be the person to be able to fix it, but we might be able to get you, and very likely get you to the person or the department that you need to resolve whatever that is. So please connect with us, advocate for yourself. Let us be your home away from home.
Cool. So we have a little pop quiz. It's college, right? You have to get tested at some point. So we're just going to ask a few questions throughout this, just basically to check to make sure that not just more so that you guys are understanding everything that we're saying. We want to make sure that we're just spewing all this information at you, and we want to make sure that you all are actually understanding what we're saying. So this isn't graded. It's completely confidential. We can't see your answers or who answered what. But so for our first question, this is just a simple true or false. So after this session, you must email your assigned advisor to meet one-on-one for academic advising. So by that, we mean academic advising this summer for your classes. Great. So it looks like there was a little bit of confusion in there. So I agree, this question is kind of worded a little bit confusing. So the correct answer is false. So you don't need to email us to schedule your advising for your course registration for this summer. So you will have a summer advisor who will help you out through those questions. But we will work with you through all of that. If you do have other questions that go kind of beyond this, then feel free to shoot us an email.
All right, let's try again. Maybe y'all can redeem yourselves on the next one. Okay, for this one, we want you to select all of the true statements about your advisors. A, you can talk with your advisors about educational goals, course changes and challenges, and connecting to resources. B, it's recommended to meet with your advisor every quarter. C, for fall 2024, you will be assigned an advisor right before the first week of classes. And D, we are the greatest people you will ever meet. You can select multiple true answers on this one. You have a couple more seconds. All right, I'm going to end the poll and share the results out. Pretty good. It turns out all of these were true. Yes, you can talk to us about goals, courses, challenges, and resources. It's not only recommended that you meet with us every quarter, but for your first year, it's required that you meet every quarter. So yes, for fall, You'll be assigned an advisor right before the first week of classes. Yes, you currently are assigned to one of us, as Aisha was saying, and then in fall quarter, there may be some small changes that need to be made. So you'll be assigned like your official advisor moving forward right before fall quarter. And then of course, we're the greatest people you will ever meet. 61% on that one. I don't know about that. All right, moving along.
All right, Panda Bear. Remember, if you see the Panda Bear, take a picture, screenshot, take notes. So Alan just threw a website or a link in the chat. I want everyone to take a minute to click on that link that was just thrown in the chat. So you want to bookmark that web page. There are 3 different links here that you guys are going to need to know. And then I'm going to go over very briefly with you. So the first one is Office 365 email. So for those of you who are already checking your Seattle U email, who have already logged into your Seattle U email, high five. You want to make sure that over the summer you're logging in at least once a week and just, making sure you're not missing any messages. Your Seattle U email is the primary method of communication at university when you start. So I will only be emailing you through your SU email. Your professors will only be using your SU email. All departments, financial aid, housing, whatever, SU email. We're not going to be emailing your Yahoo or Gmail or, if there's anyone out there, we're not going to be using that. So get in the habit of checking your email. I remind students that, if I email you, it's not because I have nothing else to do with my time. It's because I'm emailing you something important that you need to know, open, read, and maybe respond to. So my advice to students is if it's coming from your advisor or your professor or financial aid, right? Because they're money, you're going to want to open those emails and read them and respond to them if you need to. The second thing on here that you're going to need to know is My Seattle U. My Seattle U is where you're going to go in and you're going to choose your classes and where you're going to register. So My Seattle U, that's how registration happens every quarter for the rest of your time at SU. So that's going to be a very important link to have. The last thing that you're going to need to know is the search bar. So if you just go to seattleu.edu, which is the homepage for the university, and you use the search bar in the top right corner, and you just search for whatever you need to know, like math placement. If you just need to know, department chair for chemistry, if you just need to know financial aid contact information, the search bar is your best friend. If you email me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the search bar. So we could have saved some time and a step there. So start with the search bar, then reach out if you still can't find the answer. So those are going to be the 3 resources that you're going to want to know on this website.
All right, welcome to College of Science and Engineering. We are going to spend a good majority of our session today talking about math. If math is not your friend, we might want to talk about your major because everyone in College of Science and Engineering is going to need to take at least 2 math courses. And sometimes many as 4 or more, depending on your major. If you're a math major, of course, you'll be taking math classes every quarter. And so how do we, in order to best prepare you for all of this math that we're going to have you take, and we're going to emphasize math so early with you, is by a couple of different means. So we want to know, like the Goldilocks story, if you remember that, we want to find the math class that is not too hard for you and not too easy for you, but the one that is just right, just like Goldilocks. So the way that we do that is we look at perhaps something that you've already done. So if you've taken AP or IB math classes, we can look at that. If you've taken the ACT or SAT, we can look at your scores there. If you've already taken an ALEKS placement exam because you were looking at some other schools besides Seattle University, or you took it because you were doing Running Start, then all of those are ways that could help us determine your placement. And if you don't have any of those, don't worry. Seattle University also offers the ALEKS placement exam. You'll get a score after you take the ALEKS placement exam. Yes, there's a lot of math questions that it's going to ask you. But again, I don't really want you to study up too much because, again, we want to know what you know. We want to tap in already to what you know, not what you are going to learn, because that's going to happen in class. So we ask you to take the ALEX exam and it'll give you a score, and the score is not out of 100%. So you can't get a 100%. The score tells us which math class is the best math class for you. And if you've gone through your advising modules and soon your registration modules, or you type in that fabulous search bar, math placements, you will see where all of these, the SAT, the AP, or the ALEX score, will place you into which math class. And so that's a really good way for us to know, where do you start? Because many of our classes in science and engineering, even if you don't have to take a math class initially in your very first quarter, which is really only for 2 majors out of all of them, then it could be a prerequisite for a class that's in your major. So math is super important for those of you starting in our college. I see in the question, and I'll answer this one now, I see it in the chat. If you take, if we have all of those and they all place you at different places, we will take the one that gives you the highest math placement. But you may also choose to say, hey, well, while it told me I was ready for calculus, I don't really think I am. And I'd like to take a step back. We can totally do that as well. And again, you can talk with your ALEX advisor or your academic advisor about that. ALEX on my brain. So here's an example. If you are a biology or environmental science student, you are the ones who are only required to take 2 math courses. And so you'll see but you all have to take calculus. You'll have to take Calc for Life Sciences if you're a biology or environmental science student, and then statistics for life science. Everybody else, we're hoping that you begin at Calc 1, and maybe some of you have placement already into Calc 2. And unlikely, but possible, students may even begin in Calc 3, depending on what you did in Running Start or college in the high school. So on this slide, just what I want to make sure that you realize is that these are the classes that we are hoping all students are starting at, is a calculus level. And if you are anything other than biology or environmental science, you will be taking a math class in the fall. Okay, very few of you won't be. If we move to the next slide, I'm going to give an example of what it means if I'm not placed into my calculus level class. So through all of these methods, I realized that I need to start at Math 1023. Cool, that's fine. Math 1023 is pre-algebra. So you'll be taking that, or pre-calculus. So you'll be taking that class in order to get you ready for calculus level. So you may need FQ being fall quarter, WQ winter quarter, SQ being spring quarter. You may need to have 2 quarters of math before you get to the calculus. No worries, that's fine. Or maybe you place into Math 1021 and in the following quarter, you're ready to take your statistics or your Calc for Life Science class. If you're an engineering or computer science or chemistry student, similarly, again, it's okay if you are seeing that your math placement is placing you below the calculus level. There are lots of ways for us to catch up, and you can still finish your degree within 4 years if you're working with your academic advisor. We will make sure that that happens. So this is just another slide to show if you were intending for that engineering, computer science, or chemistry to get to the calculus class that's on your plan. There are many ways to do it, and we'll get you there, and it's okay. So how do I know what my placement is? When you log into My Seattle U, and you'll remember Aisha showed you how to get to that on her slide just a couple moments ago. When you log into My Seattle U, you see this timeline. And so it's a future timeline. Dun, dun, dun. And so, yes, we will be able to predict your future of which classes you'll be taking. But the very first column in that timeline talks about non-term courses. And what non-term courses means is that they're classes that you didn't take here, or placement exams that you didn't take while you were an SU student. So this will have, if you look at the example on the screen, the first student says that they have their trig requirement satisfied. And so they won't have to actually take that. The next option, the PL, stands for placement, that they took the placement exam and they were shown to have proficiency through Math 1021. Awesome. So that means if you look at the fall quarter, when they planned Math 1334, there were none of these like error messages that pop up in yellow, and Hallie will show you those a little bit later. So we're good. We're meeting the prerequisite for the math class that we need. The next example shows an SAT score. And so the SAT, based on placement, says that the student was ready for and through Math 1010. Well, guess what? My math placement for 1021 is just a little bit higher. So still, I'm in a good place. And then the last course is a UCORE 1100, and that was transferred, let's say, in this case, maybe by a running start student who took that course already, had that course on their transcript, sent us their transcript, and it got placed onto their non-term courses. And so now we know that student should not take UCORE 1100 in their fall quarter. So where you want to go to see what your placement is, if you'll go here to the non-term courses. If you said, hey, I've taken the AP exam and I don't see my scores showing up in non-term, did you send Seattle University your transcript from College Board? Did you send Seattle University your SAT or ACT scores? Did you send Seattle University your transcript from whatever school college or university that you took that class at? We cannot use your high school transcripts. Phew, placement.
Well, we got a few more quiz questions. Hopefully this one's a little bit easier. Just read carefully. It's another true or false. So a computer science student will take Math 1230. That's calculus for life sciences. Is that true or false? You guys are speedy with this. Give it just a few more seconds. Lock in your answer. Cool. Y'all did great. False is correct. So remember, calculus for life sciences. Computer science is not a life science. So computer science students are instead going to take Calculus 1, which is Math 1334. Again, we'll walk you through all of those to make sure that you're taking the right classes. But please make sure that you look at that when you're making your plan to make sure that you're heading in the right direction.
Okay, your high school pre-calculus grade can act as placement into a college level calculus course. True or false? Okay, looks like the majority of you answered, and yes, false. So in order to receive math placement, if you must have a college level math credit from a 2 or 4 year college or university, or an AP score that places you. If you took high school calculus or high school pre-calculus or high school trig, but it was not for college credit, we cannot use that. So it must be a college level math class that you show us that you've earned credit in for placement. So just because you took pre-cal in high school, still got to take the placement exam or show proof of college level math.
Yes, and seeing a lot of really great questions in the chat. Y'all, if you're in doubt, take the ALEKS exam. It's like 30 minutes of your life. And remember, we take your highest score.
Yes.
Okay, a couple more things about math, and we're almost done with math. We want to talk a little bit about trigonometry. Trigonometry is a class that a lot of you will have to take because it is a co-requisite for calculus. Co-requisite meaning it must either be taken prior to or at the same time as calculus. And remember, all of you are taking calculus of some kind, whether it's Calc for Life Sciences or Calc 1 and beyond. So trigonometry at SU is Math 1028. It is a 2-credit class. When it comes to planning out your courses, we care less about how many classes you're taking and more about how many credits you're taking each quarter. Trig is a 2-credit class, so it can typically be added to the other 3 courses that you would typically be taking. And we'll see an example of this on the next slide. Your ALEKS Math Placement Score will also tell you whether or not you have to take trig. Some of you may place out of trig, meaning you have already satisfied that requirement because of your previous math knowledge. Some of you will test into calculus, but you'll also need to take trig. All right, let's look at an example here pulled from student planning. So this is an example on the left-hand side of a student who would need to plan to take trig. We know this because of the warning symbol in the calculus box. So student planning is pretty user-friendly in that when you plan for a class that you don't meet the prerequisites or co-requisites for, it's going to give you a big warning symbol like this, and that's going to prevent you from being able to register for the class. So once the student went into student planning and added the trig class to their schedule, it resolved that error. And they're still well within the credit limit. So again, full-time students take between 12 and 18 credits per quarter. Without the trig class, they would have taken 15 credits, but even with the trig class, they're still at 17 credits, which is full-time.
Okay, another quick question. This one's a little bit confusing, so please read through it thoroughly. So you're going to want to select the false statement about Math 1028, which is our trigonometry class. So the first one, A, when you take Calculus 1, you must also take 1028 trig unless you've tested out or have trig credit. B, if you took trig in high school, you do not need to take trig at SU. Or C, if you have an AP score or college credit that counts for Calculus 1 and you're able to go into Calculus 2, then you do not need to take Math 1028. So select the false statement. Just a few more seconds. Cool, great. B is false. That is the right answer. So just going through this, because this one can be a little bit confusing. Again, when you take Calculus 1, you must also take trig. That's what we were just saying. So A is true. B, if you take trig in high school, those high school credits do not count for college credits. You need some sort of college credits, whether that was running START, and it's the actual college class that you took, so we need their transcripts, or if you took the AP exam and we have those scores, then you don't have to take trig for that. And C is especially confusing, so if you are able to enroll straight into Calculus 2, so if you have some sort of scores that have already said that you've met the Calc 1 requirements, then it's assumed that you have also met the trig requirement as well. So B is the right answer, it is false.
Okay, so I see a couple of questions in the chat. This slide will answer most of them. So Panda Bear, screenshot, take notes, whatever you need to do. So this is just a reminder of we need your official scores. So if you have AP scores, so you sat for the exam. So you sat for the AP exam. So if you took AP biology, but you didn't sit for the biology exam, doesn't really matter. But if you sat for the exam for AP and you have official scores, those do get released in early July, so sometime in the next week, I know. You can come to the course registration workshop having a screenshot of your unofficial scores, but you are going to want to make sure to send your official College Board AP or IB exams to Seattle University so that you can get credit for it. So the only way to get credit for College Board exams, AP or IB, is to send the official score report to Seattle University. Also, college transcripts. So if you took Running START, so if you took it at a 2-year college or if you took it at a 4-year college, the transcript needs to come from that college or university. It cannot, I repeat, it cannot come from your high school. It needs to come from the college or university through where you earned the credits. So if it was Bellevue College, Skagit Valley, whatever, you need to contact them and send the official transcript to Seattle University. So you want to make sure that you take care of that before course registration workshop. Now, if you have sent it over or are sending it over, but they're not in the system, meaning that we don't see that you've taken these classes before your workshop. That's okay. Please email your advisor unofficial copies or screenshots of your score report or your transcript so we can help you, make sure you're not repeating classes that you don't need because you already have credit for it. All right. So just have unofficial copies or scores ready to share at registration or before registration. Okay.
All right, at this point, you've been asking questions in the chat. That's cool. Keep those coming. But also, if you want to raise your hand and ask a question aloud, feel free. We do ask that your question be broad. It can't be very specific to your unique situation. So if you think you have a question that we haven't already asked in the chat, or maybe the chat is happening too fast and you want to ask a more general question, feel free at this time. So raise your hand and then we'll call on you to unmute, or feel free to ask your question in the chat if that feels safer.
You're going to find your advisor in My Seattle U. You can always take the Alex. When in doubt, take the Alex. That's going to be my advice to you, period. If you have a lot of college credits, it depends on what you consider a lot of college credits. So in your admissions portal, if you're not sure, you can always go ahead and sign up for the course registration workshop and then email your assigned advisor to see if you need a one-on-one meeting. Trying to see, is it acceptable to send our official high school transcript via physical mail? That's fine. It's just going to take longer to get here, but that's fine. If you still need to, if admission still requires you to send your official high school transcript, if you guys haven't done that, it's fine to send it through physical mail. Your hypothetical, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know some high schools like literally just finished this week.
Yes.
So if your high school transcript, you're waiting still for your high school transcript to be done, yes, that's fine. We can wait for the high school transcript. But for registration purposes, we're looking for areas where you've earned college credit already, or the SAT or ACT, which should have been done already.
I'm just making sure I'm not missing. Where can we see hypothetical schedule? I don't know what that means. I'm going to say My Seattle U is where you're going to go in and pick your classes to register. Maybe that's
what we're gonna talk about. The session is not over. We're not done. Wait, there's more. So we're going to talk more about registration in the next few minutes. So in fact, if there are no more questions right now, let's jump to that. Very likely, we're probably going to go 10 minutes over. So if you can stay with us for the rest of this information about registration, please do.
All right, you can keep posting your questions in the chat, but yes, we're going to turn towards registration now. Like I mentioned at the start of this session, this is all we're doing here today is to prepare us for registration. So who is going to be registering in those registration sessions? We are going to meet back on Zoom in those registration sessions in smaller groups. So more like 20 students and 3 of us, and you'll have time in those sessions to meet with an advisor individually to get your schedule checked and to get you registered for classes. In those sessions and for your planning purposes, we're going to be focused on fall quarter classes, and we are going to get you registered only for fall quarter classes. The registration sessions, again, are happening between July 8th and 18th. We may have some makeup sessions as well. You're signing up for one registration session. Again, they're happening on Zoom, and you'll want to make sure that you also have access to My Seattle U student planning, because you are going to be doing the work in that session. So you hopefully will have access to a device where you're able to be on Zoom and then also have My Seattle U student planning pulled up. How to sign up? Well, hopefully before you sign up, you're completing your course registration 101 modules in Canvas and engaging with other orientation materials. And then the actual sign up is in your orientation portal where you signed up for this session. Okay. How do you know what classes to register for in fall? The reason we're all here. In just a minute, Alan is going to post a link to a very important document in the chat. It's there right now. I want you to go to the Zoom chat, open the last link that was sent, and save that document. That document has the first 2-year samples of every major in our college. So you're going to find your major or intended major, and these sample plans give you a good idea of a starting point. Not everyone's fall quarter is going to look exactly like it looks in the sample plan. A lot of that is going to be based on your math placement, which is why we harped on it so much in the beginning. But again, you're using it as a jumping off point and using student planning to help plan some of those classes, paying attention to the warnings it's giving you, seeing which math class you need. And you're using all of these materials and all of this information together to help plan your classes for fall. And we hope that you come to the registration session with a few courses planned. It's okay if you still have questions about them, but coming with a few courses planned so that we can help fine tune at those sessions.
So again, just to reiterate, we're going to be using that document, the planning guide, as well as My Seattle U Student Planning, which we've already gone over where you can access that. It's really important that you understand and that you learn how to use My Seattle U, because this is how you're going to register for courses every single quarter. We could just put you in courses, whether you like it or not, but the problem with that is that then you don't actually learn how to register for your courses, and we have the same problem coming up in the winter, right? So we think it's really important that you learn how to do this now, because you are going to do this again and again and again. It's going to be just a few weeks after you start as a student here that you're already going to be starting to look at planning for the winter quarter. So please make sure that you go through the course registration module, which you should have access to through your orientation page. That will walk you through how to use My Seattle U. And again, kind of what Hallie was saying, it'll make the course registration workshop go much smoother if you already have a plan. If you have a plan in there, then we can jump in and say, hey, you're actually not in this math class. We need to switch this for another math class. Or this looks great, we'll approve you. But if you jump in there and you have nothing planned, then it's going to take a long time to process and go through all that. And it will be a pain for you to have to deal with. So we strongly encourage you to have a plan beforehand going in, so that it can go smoothly throughout the whole process.
Okay, there we are. One more thing we want to alert you to when it comes to planning out fall quarter courses are the fall intro courses for a lot of the programs within our college. So a lot of the science and engineering majors have a 1 to 2 credit course available to students who are either in that major or who are interested in that major. So you'll notice the panda bear. Take a picture of the screen so you can go back and refer to this when planning out courses. Just to highlight a few of these, the first course listed, Introduction to Engineering. This intro course will cover kind of the basics of all of our engineering programs on campus. So if you are a pre-engineering student and you're not sure if you want to major in mechanical or civil or electrical or computer, the Intro to Engineering course is going to be really helpful to help you discern. The Biology 1400 course is meant for all biology majors. It's a requirement for all biology majors. And then anyone who is intended for biology can also take this course. The Civil Engineering and Mechanical Engineering 1000, those are similar to the Intro to Engineering classes. They're just geared specifically towards civil or mechanical based on what you sign up for. The Computer Science 1000 course is a little different. This course is meant for students who are intended for computer science but are not yet in the major, or for computer science students who, for whatever reason, are not taking Programming 1 in fall quarter. So it's a good class to take while you kind of wait to take Programming 1 later on. And then finally, the Chem 1000, the Preparatory Chem Tutorial course. This is meant for chem and bio majors who did not take a high school chemistry class, or for whom maybe it's been several years since you took a chem class. You should plan to take the Chem 1000 and then continue on into Gen Chem 1 in later quarters.
Okay, so let's talk about registration. So what we're going to go over in the next 2 or 3 slides are just some things that as you're planning out your classes might trip you up and you're like, why can't I register for this class? So we're just going to go over a few common scenarios that sometimes students can encounter and we want you to be aware of so that you don't have any hurdles or you don't have anything that stops you from registering for the classes you need. All right, so the first thing, which Hallie covered a little bit earlier, is we're going to talk about requisites. So requisites are those classes that come either before or at the same time as another class. So we're going to look at this example here of Chem 1500 or Gen Chem 1. So when you click on Gen Chem 1 and you read the course description, you'll see that it tells you a little bit about the class, but then right under it, it says requisites. So for this one, I'm going to take a minute and let you guys read through the requisites, because the next slide, we're going to take a quiz and see what you remember. So take a minute here and let's see what the requisites are. So what do you need in order to be able to sign up for Chem 1500? What needs to happen? Okay. So hopefully everyone's gotten a chance to glance at that. So let's take a quick quiz. So which statements are true for you to be able to register for Gen Chem 1? All right, so which ones are the true statements? A, you must also take the lab at the same time. B, you must also be registered for pre-cal or have taken pre-cal or tested out of pre-cal before you take Gen Chem 1. Or C, you can wait to take the lab separately in winter. Okay, let's give it a few seconds. I wish we could play the Jeopardy theme music. Loving for that. Okay, so you guys did great. Yes, so A and B are correct. So usually with science classes like biology and chemistry and physics, you do have to take the lecture, which is 1500, with the lab at the same time. So if you try to sign up for a lecture without a lab or vice versa, you are going to get the error message. Most of your classes are going to have a math prerequisite or co-requisite. So when you start registering for your classes or when you start adding classes to your schedule, if you don't meet the requirement, you're going to get that little error message that you're going to want to pay attention to resolve. So if you don't meet the math requirement to be able to take the class, the system will let you know. And then, like I was saying, usually lecture and lab always have to be taken together. Yep, you guys did a great job.
Okay. Gonna pause to talk a little bit about UCourse. If you opened up the link to those sample plans, you may have noticed that in every quarter, it's usually suggested that students take a UCourse. Probably all of you will be taking a UCourse in fall, so how do we know which ones to plan? You'll notice that for most CSE majors, you'll have a few of the UCourses that are satisfied within your major, meaning that you don't have to take those UCourses. They're waived. UCourse 1200 and UCourse 1800 fall into that category. We really recommend that most students in fall quarter take UCourse 1100, the academic writing seminar. It's a good one to kind of get you into college level writing. And it's just a good place to start. You also, of course, have the options to take UCourse 13, 14, or 1600 in your first quarter. And it's also important to note that the 1000 level UCourses do not need to be taken in any particular order, even if we do recommend that you start with the first one. All right, got it? Because there's a quiz on the next slide. This one is a scenario. We're going to try to help Sarah here. Sarah is a biology major. She has UCourse 1100 credit from her AP English exam grade, so she plans to register for UCourse 1200 in fall. What would you tell Sarah? A, great plan, you should take UCourse 1200. B, you don't need to take UCORE Module 1 courses in order. Maybe look at UCORE 1800 options. That's the natural science UCORE. C, be sure to check your major requirements and review the modules. Or D, all of the above. This one's tripping us up a little bit. Take a few more seconds. Close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. A lot of us said all of the above, but that is incorrect. The correct answer would be C. Please make sure to check your requirements and review your modules. And that's because, if you'll remember, most of the CSE majors have both UCORE 1200 and UCORE 1800 satisfied in the major, meaning you don't need to take those UCOREs. You already basically have credit for them. UCORE 1200 is a math class. You'll be taking plenty of math, as we discussed, and UCORE 1800 is a science class. So the correct answer would be to check your requirements.
Yeah, so that last question was a really good example of, you'll see these little warnings that pop up that say, hey, you haven't met the prereqs, you can't take this class. But generally, if you're enrolling in one of those UCOREs that you don't need, it's not going to tell you that you shouldn't enroll in that class because you've met the requirements, you can enroll in it, but you've already satisfied that through your major. So make sure that you're aware of that. But otherwise, for like prereqs or anything, kind of what we were saying earlier, you'll see these little pop-ups that appear in My Seattle U Planning, and that will tell you, that's kind of a warning sign that, hey, something's wrong, the computer is saying that there's a problem here. And so you can see with this example here for this probably a biology student that's enrolled in the fall quarter is trying to take Bio 1620, which is great, but it's saying, hey, you also need to take 1621. It must be taken at the same time as this course. That's the lab. So right now the student is enrolled in the lecture, but you also need to enroll at the lab, in the lab at the same time. So generally, for most of you, when you are planning your fall quarter, you're going to want to have 3 classes. Most of the classes here are 5 units. So that means that you will be 15 units full-time student for the fall quarter. Those 3 classes that we generally recommend for most students are a major class, a math class, and a UCORE class. And the reason that we want those is we want you to be making good progress while also having a nice, well-balanced schedule. So again, we'll work through this with you throughout the course registration workshops, but that's generally what you're going to want to have planned in your My Seattle U planning beforehand. One quick note, if you are a biology major or biology adjacent, I believe on the form that we sent out, it actually says biology 1610 for the fall, 1610 and 1611. Those will actually be flipped. So 1620 will be first before 1610, which you'll take in the winter. And one last thing, if there's any sort of warning like this, if you say took an AP class or something and it's not in the computer yet, let us know and we can override that requirement, but only if you're able to show us proof that you've actually done one of those courses.
Okay, here we are at the reminder checklist. So we're at the end. So just a couple of reminders. Take the ALEKS Math Placement. If you're not sure you need it, take the ALEKS Math Placement. We always take the highest math score or the highest math placement. So I have said this until I'm blue in the face. If you come without a math placement score that we can use to register you, we really can't register you for anything. So if you haven't taken the ALEKS Math Placement, then be sure that you're either sharing your college level math credit or you're sharing AP scores with us that we can use for math placement. And this is also the reminder to send official transcripts from your college or university to Seattle University if you've taken Running Start or just college credit somewhere else. Again, College Board, I know AP scores don't come out till early July. It's okay. You can bring a screenshot to your course registration workshop or email those to your advisor ahead of time. All right, so you do want to make sure that your next step, you are going through and you're taking notes through the Registration 101 module. Guys, I know they're long. I do. I feel for you. It's summer. But the reason we have this be so detailed is because literally you have to do this every quarter for the rest of your time at SU if you're planning to take classes to graduate with a degree. We're just trying to give you as much information as you can so you're starting off strong. By the time you're registering for spring classes, you are going to be pros at this because you will have known what to do. So select your courses. So before you show up for your course registration workshop, we want to see that you have classes planned in My Seattle U on your timeline. Those classes should be a major class, a math class, and a U core. So there is no reason here that no one should show up without having done some homework and having done some planning. So please make sure you come prepared to those course registration workshops. All right, and if you have not, please sign up for a registration session in your admissions portal. That's how we get you registered. And I think that's it. You guys are now prepared for everything that you ever need to know to start college. Do you feel it? You guys got this, 100%. All right, so we're going to take a minute for questions. Feel free to raise your hand or throw the questions in the chat and we'll hang around. But if you don't have any questions or you feel like you got this, you are free to go. Thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon.
So it looks like there was an ask to go back to those early math slides. In particular for biology, environmental science, yeah. Take a picture. There was a panda bear on there. And somebody was asking in the chat, and in case you didn't see the answer, this recording actually will be saved in your orientation portal in the advising module. It just probably won't be posted until next week. So yes, take pictures today while you still can. Saw a lot of questions in here too about who my advisor is. You should have received to your Seattle U email, an email saying who your advisor was, but also when you log into your My Seattle U, you should see it listed there as well. And surprise, it's one of the 3 advisors in the session. So again, you're going to go into your timeline non-term classes to see what we already have. So you don't need to go to the test summary. It should be already listed in your non-term of your timeline.
Unless you tested into Math 1023, then it wouldn't be listed because that's our first math class.
There's lots of answers. So now I'm getting some questions about actually the act of registering. Make sure you check out your registration 101 module in your orientation portal. There's more tips there. So we gave a preview of what you're going to see there. So make sure you look at that. And again, with what you've learned in your orientation modules for advising and registration, plus what you've heard today, plus you can go back to recordings that should really get you the information that you need to be prepared for your reg session, which technically the very first one starts on July 8th. Somebody asked earlier in the chat, way up earlier in the chat, and said, is there is there a negative to signing up for a late registration session? No, not really. You'll still get the classes that you need. However, when you register later, you may not get the day and time or the ideal schedule that you wanted because people have been registering before you. So if you can sign up early, I recommend it. But just because you sign up early for a session, if you come unprepared and you still don't get registered that day, there's no difference. So again, you're going to be looking for My Seattle U. That was one of the slides Aisha shared with you at the beginning. If you go onto the Seattle University website, I'm sure you're going to find it there. If you feel like we're being a little vague, it's because we want you to try. We don't want to do it for you. We want you to try, and it's okay to touch buttons and navigate and explore, because you're going to be a college student. You're going to be asked to do a lot of that. And so you're going to get a little preview of that here with your advisors. Thank you for coming, those of you who are still remaining. I think we're gonna make it a wrap. Thanks for all your great questions, for being so engaging. Thank you for showing your faces. Have a good one, and we'll see you at your registration session.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks for coming.